today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A conversation that seems to have resurfaced. The Shields versus Jonas fight. Natasha Jonas, who says she's not worried about Clarissa Shields, warning, who has she knocked out? Let's be honest. Clarissa Shields, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport, pound-for-pound fighter that she might be, she really isn't a knockout merchant. Could she knock out Natasha Jonas? On July 1st in Manchester, Jonas dropped down to welterweight and stopped Candy Wyatt to capture the vacant IBF title. Shields was ringside to support her close friend Franchon Cruz, who was facing Savannah Marshall in the main event. During the event, Shields was interviewed by Sky Sports and made it clear that Jonas would get knocked out if they met in the ring. Jonas rolled her eyes at Shields' vow of a knockout victory, saying, "Who is she knocked out? Let's be honest." Well, it is true that Clarissa Shields, for all her accolades, she's not a knockout merchant. She wasn't a knockout merchant at super middle, or junior middle. She's got speed and quickness and athleticism and certainly one of the higher ring IQs in the sport. She's got all those things working for her, but power has never been... Knockouts have never been her thing. Try as she might to deliver them, though Natasha Jonas might want to measure her words because Clarissa doesn't need to be the biggest puncher, the strongest puncher, to knock out a naturally smaller fighter. That's what Natasha is. She's been knocked out before. Who is she knocked out? Let's be honest, Jonas told Sky Sports. We're levels apart, maybe in weight levels, but we're getting closer. She says she'll come down to 147, put her money where her mouth is, and let's see if she does. Shields ain't gonna go to welterweight. The amount of money that the people at Sky Sports and Boxer would have to offer Clarissa to go all the way down to welterweight, where she's never fought, further south than she's ever been, would likely have to be more than what they gave her to fight Savannah. Just get it straight. I think there's a genuine possibility that if you put Clarissa in the ring with Natasha, Clarissa would knock her out. She would stop her. I understand that Clarissa's not a knockout merchant. I'm honestly more a fan of Natasha's boxing than Clarissa's. I'm more of a fan of Natasha than I am Clarissa. But being honest, because Clarissa's so much bigger than Natasha, bigger frame, bigger legs, but still has speed. Because Natasha's a naturally smaller fighter, that combination of ingredients might actually result in a knockout. She said that before, that she would move down, but Dimitri Salita, Shields' promoter, also said, we want to do it at a catch weight of 156 because she couldn't make 154, and now she's saying she'll do 147. That's not what her own team are saying. There's lots of contradictions in what she says. Shields, regarded by most observers as a top pound-for-pound fighter in the sport, is currently the undisputed world champion at middleweight. Her promoter, Dimitri Salita, confirms that a potential fight with Jonas would not take place at the welterweight limit. Of course not. Clarissa would have to cut off a leg to make that weight. As Don King used to say, there are 99 ways to say no and only one way to say yes to a fight. Clarissa is the undisputed middleweight world champion. To offer Clarissa a fight at welterweight fits into one of the 99 ways, Salita told Sky Sports. No, I don't actually think that we're on the eve of this fight. I don't actually think the fight will materialize. But if we are to address the possibility of Clarissa Shields stopping Natasha Jonas, there was a genuine possibility that had they fought at junior middleweight, Clarissa might have stopped her. Not because Clarissa's such a hard puncher, but because Natasha Jonas is a naturally smaller fighter. She used to campaign as a super featherweight, and she was stopped at super featherweight by Vivian Obanoff. So at junior middle, given Clarissa Shields' natural size and speed, that combination might have resulted in a knockout. Clarissa would have been too much for Natasha. The thing is, I don't actually expect the fight to happen because both Natasha Jonas and Clarissa Shields, the both of them jointly, are notoriously shrewd business women that drive a hard bargain. I don't think you could ever get one to agree to anything that the other suggests. One might want to fight at one weight for $1 amount and the other. Natasha Jonas wouldn't take on a fight like that on the cheap, and Clarissa, she's not going to boil down and wait for peanuts on a dollar. Who would get the lion's share of the pot? Because in that situation, Natasha Jonas would actually be the defending champion, and Clarissa would be the challenger. Yeah, maybe Clarissa's the more decorated fighter overall, but they wouldn't be fighting for any of Clarissa's belts. They'd be fighting for Natasha's. In that situation, can you really say that in the UK, Clarissa has more of a profile than Natasha, when it would be Natasha's promoter paying for the fight? They'd be bankrolling the show, not Clarissa's, not Dimitri Salita. So the question remains, who'd get the lion's share of the pot in a fight where Natasha's the defending champion, not Clarissa, and it's Natasha's promoter paying for the show, not Clarissa's. Like I said, you could never get them to agree to anything. I don't think you could get them to agree to a weight for that fight or a dollar amount. So it really is much ado about nothing. There is a distinct possibility that Clarissa could knock out Natasha Jonas if you get them both in the ring, but getting them both in the ring... Oh, that's going to be like pulling teeth. Men's lightweight and super lightweight news per tweet from Michael Benson. Shakur Stevenson is now Devin Haney's WBC mandatory challenger. WBC President Mauricio Suleiman has confirmed. He said Haney has until this Friday, July 21st, to decide if his next fight will be against Shakur at lightweight or Regis Prograis at super lightweight. Do you notice that the WBC is hitting the gas on the mandatory situation at lightweight, but they're not hitting the gas at middleweight? I mean, you have a WBC interim champion in Carlos Adames who's chomping at the bit to get Jermall Charlo in the ring, but Jermall is getting all this amnesty in spite of being out of action for 2 years. Here you have Devin Haney, who's fighting and winning, quote-unquote winning. Not even complaining, I'm just saying that I wish the energy was the same across the board. In any event, it doesn't appear that Devin Haney's going to be staying at lightweight any longer, and that's more or less what I expected. As Regis Prograis, WBC Super Lightweight Champion Regis Prograis, took to his social media and stated, "Yo, Eddie Hearn, am I fighting Devin Haney in November or what? It's on you," to which Devin Haney himself replied, "October." Looks like Devin Haney's already made up his mind. There's reason enough to believe he has. Devin's got a full plate. He's got options. Gervonta Davis is not one among them. You will notice that Teofimo Lopez called out Devin, Regis called out Devin, and Shakur Stevenson, but where's Gervonta? Isn't he supposed to be the face of boxing, or the ass of boxing, or the foot of boxing, or something like that? I mean, isn't he supposed to be the biggest name anywhere at or around these weights? If that's true, making a fight with any one of these fighters is on him. When you're the self-proclaimed cash cow of a division, the onus to make fights happen is on you, not the other guy, especially when the other guy is a network and promotional free agent. Devin's not exclusive to anybody. Gervonta Davis is. Let's not kid ourselves. He fights exclusively under the PBC banner, exclusively on the Showtime platform. So if what Gervonta and his team wanted was to get Devin Haney in the ring, they've really pissed the time away. I don't care that talk to me about the jail stuff, because that's what guys like Leonard Ellerbe, Tom Brown are for. That's what Stefan Espinosa's for. That if this were a fight that Showtime and Gervonta's team wanted to make, they would have made an offer by now. They still haven't. Which is no less than I expected. That's what I said would happen weeks ago. Weeks later, time has proven me right. In any event, Regis Prograis, Shakur Stevenson, and Teofimo Lopez appear to all be in the running for a Devin Haney fight, though Devin himself seems to be leaning towards Regis Prograis. Not surprising. Now, upon the announcement of Teofimo Lopez hanging on to the brown belt, hanging on to his WBO title, and not officially retiring, not really, not that anybody actually believed him, he called out Devin Haney. He left the ball in Devin Haney's court to make the fight happen. That if Devin was willing to fight for a newly vacated WBO title, would he still be willing to fight for it if Teofimo's still got it? And I guess in some ways we have our answer. I guess. It looks a lot like Devin is leaning towards a Prograis fight instead of a Teofimo Lopez fight. Now, I'm okay with either fight. I'm okay with Haney versus Lopez. I'm okay with Haney versus Prograis. Not surprised that the Vasyl Lomachenko fight isn't going to get a sequel. Not surprised that that turned out to be Devin's final fight as a lightweight, as a defending champion. I'm not surprised that he's not fighting Shakur Stevenson next. I said that he wouldn't. WBC's last set of updated rank standings. Vasyl Lomachenko, the former champion, was ranked at number 1, and Shakur Stevenson was ranked at number 2. If the title becomes vacant in the coming weeks, it's conceivable that a fight between them will be ordered, and the next WBC champion will be crowned. It'll be between them. Now, if for some reason Vasyl Lomachenko don't want to fight Shakur Stevenson, ranked right behind Shakur is Isaac Cruz, and Golden Boy Promotions is William Zepeda. Ranked right behind them is Frank Martin, who was in action this past weekend. Insights into how the lightweight situation might play out by way of the WBC, the lightweight situation at super lightweight. At 140 pounds, Devin Haney has the option of fighting Teofimo or the option of facing Regis Prograis. There are similarities between Regis Prograis and Teofimo. They're both boxer punchers with an affinity for counterpunching. They both lateral punches off the shoulder out of a shell guard. They're both strong punchers at the weight. They both are, but I think Regis, punch for punch, is a bigger puncher than Teofimo. Teofimo's got speed, whereas Regis has got power. And Teofimo's got youth, whereas Regis Prograis, he's got size. He is a bigger guy, a beefier guy than young Teofimo Lopez. Devin has a stylistic advantage. Emphasis on stylistic advantage over the both of them. Not to be confused with a power advantage or a speed advantage, an athleticism advantage, that stylistically, the pure boxer tends to give a counterpuncher a lot of problems, mostly because counterpunchers rely on the aggression of their opponents to set up the counters, and Devin's not aggressive. He's defensive. Either Teofimo or Regis would have to tweak things a bit opposite the ring, Devin Haney. They'd have to put the squeeze on him and try to apply pressure, give chase, and both boys have proven to be somewhat vulnerable when giving chase. They look a little bit more human when they're trying to lead the dance as opposed to react to it, i.e., counterpunch. Same reason Teofimo looked human with Sandor Martin is the same reason that Regis Prograis looked human with Danielito Zorrilla. Lateral movement and defense. Both guys in many ways were fighting negative fights, both Sandor Martin and Danielito Zorrilla, and that's why both of those guys made two counterpunchers look quite human when they fought them, Teofimo and Regis. Those two guys are pure boxers. So's Devin Haney. Caveat for Devin is that he's not a big puncher. Can he actually keep Teofimo out? Can he actually keep Regis Prograis out? Can he actually get their respect? Or is he going to have to spend the majority of the round and the majority of the fight on his bike? Can he get respect? He's definitely got some of the ingredients to make either one of these two guys look bad. I understand if many of you out there feel that Devin lost to Vasyl Lomachenko, but try and understand that Regis Prograis and Teofimo, they ain't Vasyl Lomachenko. They ain't volume punchers like he is. And styles after all, they do make fights. So even if you think Devin lost that one, these two fights are different fights to that one. Different fighters. To beat Devin, they're going to have to give chase and put him under pressure for Devin to survive. Devin's got to move lateral, pot shot from the outside, and fight from a distance. I think either guy packs a big enough punch to hurt Devin Haney if they get in, but the question is, can they get in? I like either fight. I could go for either one. Upstairs, in the men's welterweight division, Derek James says you will see the best technical version of Errol Spence because he has to be. That seems like a break in character, a deviation for Errol, who's really more muscle than hustle. That's what Derek is saying. On tonight, Spence will attempt to become an undisputed champion against Terrence Crawford. Admittedly, James doesn't spend most of his off-duty hours watching too much boxing. Instead, he likes to get away from the sport for long stretches. That said, James revealed that he's been watching Crawford from a distance for years now as he continues to lay out a game plan that will lead Spence to victory. James is confident that Spence will be at his very best. If he isn't, his undefeated run will come to an end. You will see the best technical version of Spence, said James to a group of reporters recently, because he has to be successful. Errol's not really a technician. He's more of a battering ram. Volume punching, beating his opponents into submission. It's worked for him up until this point. This guy's a different kind of gravy. Terrence Crawford, who says, after the Spence fight, critics will eat their words and give me respect that I rightfully deserve. Errol Spence Jr.'s fans have been diminishing Terrence Crawford, his accomplishments, his career accolades. They've been diminishing him for years now. If he wins, well, I think they'll take the loss harder than Errol Spence will. After this fight, everybody that had something negative to say about Terrence Crawford will eat their words, and they will give me the respect that I rightfully deserve. If they don't, that's something they will have to deal with, Crawford said in an interview with BoxingScene.com and other reporters. That just shows the lack of knowledge that these people hold. A lot of people say that I don't have the resume. I just laugh at them. Come July 29th, it doesn't matter who I fought. The gross oversights often associated with Terrence Crawford, his ability, and his resume. The night of the fight, it won't matter anymore. I don't get overconfident or anything. I just make sure I'm doing the things I need to do better myself, said Crawford. I feel as though Errol will make more adjustments along the way, and he won't just fight the same fight the whole fight. I expect him to make adjustments. He's a great professional. We're only 2 weeks out from the fight, ladies and germs. We're only 2 weekends away. Seems like the Errol Spence Jr. camp plan on breaking character. You're hearing about a more technical Errol Spence Spence Jr., and we know that he's not using Fight to Be Fit Inc. as his nutritionists for this fight, for this assignment. He's enlisted the aid of another.
Hired some other guy.
As overzealous and as many gross oversights as Errol Spence Jr.'s fans like to make in reference to Terrence, Errol himself is not making those gross oversights. He understands that this guy's different than Danny Garcia or Mikey Garcia or Sean Porter. He's a tougher puzzle to crack.
Terrence Crawford is.
Terrence Crawford, who says, I respect Spence. He could have moved up to 154. We're going to fight the shit out of each other.
I agree.
If we're here now, it's because both fighters wanted the fight, both Errol and Terrence. But a part of me feels that this isn't necessarily what Al Heyman wanted. That Al would have preferred that Errol moved up and fought Keith Thurman instead. But against his best wishes, Errol decided to do this.
Remember, that's what the plan was. All those talks about fighting Keith at junior middle.
Errol could have easily moved up to 154 and said, man, I'm not fighting this dude. I commend him for staying at 147 and doing what he said he was going to do. And that's the fight, Terrence Crawford. And I respect him for that. Crawford said during the first episode of All Access on Showtime, I'm happy that the fight is here, but I am not satisfied until my hand is raised on July 29th, nor should he be.
Terrence Crawford has been mercilessly attacked by Errol Spence Jr.'s fans the last 4 or 5 years, alienated by the PBC, practically frozen out of the division.
Spence has been on my mind ever since I moved up to the division. Fans and the media, they were saying fight Errol, said Crawford. I trained my ass off to be where I'm at. I deserve these fights. It was frustrating, but I had to take what I could get. I think it's going to be a hell of a fight against Spence. I think we're going to fight the shit out of each other. This is my moment to shine. I am prepared to do whatever I have to do. When I am
met with force, I'm going to give you force right back. Anything I do to win.
Errol has proven to be a man of his word to some degree. The fight is almost here, and it's here because both guys wanted it.
Even if that's not what the PBC, even if that's not what Al Heyman originally wanted, I'm sure they would have preferred to keep things a little bit more insulated.
Keith Thurman would have been a much safer choice for Errol Spence Jr. to remain an unbeaten fighter than Terrence Crawford. Against Terrence Crawford, his unbeaten record is in jeopardy.
At least more than it would have been with Keith.
But if he loses, he can at least lose with dignity.
Yeah.
That he wasn't afraid to find out who was the better man, himself or Terrence.